Hey everybody, we're back with another movie spoiler review, and I will be covering the sequel to Adam Sandler's murder mystery movie, Murder Mystery 2. And I gotta say, I'm glad, just go back to like the standard, whatever movie title and just two, and none of this subtitle thing. Like, I love John Wick, but you got like John Wick Chapter 2, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, and it's like just go like the numeric sequence. It's perfectly fine. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it's just like, you get stuff like the imagination of one Harley Quinn instead of just going with Harley Quinn movie. Short, sweet, to the point. Anyway, I'm getting for a tangent here. First and foremost, definitely leave a like, comment, subscribe to this video. Follow me in the links in the description below if you like content like this. As I stated before, I already covered Murder Mystery, now covering its sequel. Now, of course, you got Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston reprising their roles as Nick and Audrey Spitz. We also got Mark Strong as Connor Miller, Melanie Laurent as Claudette, Jodie Turner-Smith as Countess Saku, John Kenai reprising his role again as Colonel Luenga, Kuhu Verma as Sarah, the Maharaja's sister, Danny Boone as reprising his role as Inspector Delacroix, Adil Akhtar reprising his role as the Maharaja, Enrique Arce or Arc as Francisco, and we got Zoran Villanueva as Imani. So yeah, it's been heck 4 years since like I guess it kind of makes sense given like the pandemic and situations like that. So it's been like 4 years since the events of the first film, where now Nick and Audrey are in business together and starting their private detective agency. Now, the way the previous movie ended, the inspector is supposed to put in like a good word for Nick to his bosses back in New York. But I guess like things change, and like, and Nick and Audrey kind of like work together as like a kind of like a power couple in business together. Well, the problem is that just like any business, like it is always like a struggling period to get it off the ground. And I guess they got, they're in their own heads way too much, trying to figure everything out all at once. So they definitely need like a necessary break. In comes the Maharaja calling in, inviting him to his private island to celebrate his nuptials to this French woman that he met. So they go to the island. It almost feels like, Jurassic Park, like he's, the way they, going on the helicopter and everything like that. Is, you kind of want to hear that Jurassic Park theme song. But they land and they meet the Maharaja and his wife, and they also reacquaint themselves with the Colonel, and they also meet some new players in this game. Now, God, it's like if you watched Miss Marvel, you love the whole like the Bollywood, the the culture of like the I don't want to misquote here of this culture. Right. Hold on here. Pakistani kind of situation. That's the, I'm blanking on the name. Uh, where it's like, you know, it's got this dance number and they bringing in this elephant, and it's like, you know, everybody's getting into it, and it's fun to see, like, you know, Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston just in this big crowd, and they just dancing along. It was like, you know, and everybody's just like, you can tell like they actually did some practices to just like really, you know, get into the groove and in a rhythm and in tune with each other. And it's like, this part is probably like one of my favorite parts of this first act. But it was so much fun. You almost forget that it's supposed to be a murder mystery film, so you gotta like get that going. But man, you know, you're having like a ball up to this point. Now things get a little serious, where was supposed to have been like the Maharaja coming out on top of an elephant and stuff. It turns out to be one of his new bodyguards, who is found dead riding on this elephant. At first, people suspected it was Vic, the Maharaja, but it's his new bodyguard. So they notice an assailant leaving the scene, and Nick gives chase, but he gets shot at. Doesn't get hurt, but he he, you know, sees his friend Vic get captured and carted off on a speedboat. And I kind of like, and I make a point in the previous review. I don't like that whole stereotypical rapper motif, which they kind of address in the third act of this film, which I'm kind of glad, because it's kind of like, it's very wannabe rapperish and it's kind of annoying. But I like his delivery here as he's driving away. It was like, Nick, this is some janky ass shit. It's like, I lost it. That was all right, Kai. That was pretty well. It's probably the only time this character actually genuinely made me laugh, because just the way he was delivering that. And it's like, yeah, that fits to the character. And it's probably like, okay, you made me laugh. But now they trying to figure out, like, okay, like, who has to gain from kidnapping Vic? Well, like, Nick immediately is like, okay, well, we can simplify it for everybody. Who knew about this whole elephant thing? Oh, just the people here. Then boom, then narrow things down here. It's like, one of us here, well, is one of you guys here is responsible of killing the bodyguard and kidnapping Vic. And this part, it gets really, really funny to me, where it's just Nick and Audra are in their room, and Nick is just like, just engorging himself on this block of cheese. Now, everybody got that one kind of food that they just cannot help themselves but just dig into if it's nearby. I'm like that with taffy apples. Do not leave any taffy apples anywhere near me. I will just gobble them all up. I do not care. I love taffy apples. Like, you know, like that, and like maybe like cherries, because I just stuff myself with those things. Like I can just probably live off that if I had to. I love those things. So he just eating his block of cheese, just like any chance he gets. But oh, and I forgot like this one more, because these, like, you know, two ladies, this countess and her friend Amani, looking at earlier during the reception, looking at Audrey as she's piling up her plate full of food, and she's like, just looking at her. I was like, first of all, I'll be like, You got a problem? It's like, I can't have like a plate full of food. It's like, I'm on a trip. I want to indulge myself. Do you mind? That's how I've been. But she, of course, she feels a little embarrassed. It's like, and you know, Audrey doesn't explain herself, but she felt compelled to explain herself. Oh, it's mostly my husband, because like he likes to pick off my food plate, so I like want to use it like to pile it up and everything like that. So she tried to put it back, and of course, like, don't put it back. You know, just because you use tongs, you still kind of, you know, co-mingled the food a bit. It's like, you're like, don't put it back. And then he goes like, ah, Americans. It's like, wow, like, God, it's like, I don't want to say it's stereotypical, but it's like, come on, in these movies, you got like other nationalities. Oh, I'm pretty sure there's still people out there that does act like this, but it's just like, you know, they're Americans. They're like a disgust, like they get something nasty out of their mouth. And it's like, granted, America isn't like the best in the world, despite our slogans, okay? And we have our faults, but like, don't go around casting stones, because like each country have their own little fickle business here and there. It's just, you know, we just have like a probably roughly better you know, governmental system compared to most other countries. But it's like, I'm like, Audrey, like, you don't listen to like, pile of food. You don't like, that's how it was when I went to like Cancun for the first time, and it's like, you know, all expenses paid kind of situation. I, you know, went to the bar, had as much drinks as I want to. I went to like the spot where they have like all these kind of food and everything like that. It was like, I piled it up as much as I had, like different combinations of all kinds of crap. Yeah, like, you know, Mexican and you know, Chinese rice and all this other stuff. Like, I'm on vacation for a week in Mexico. I'm gonna do what the heck I want. Despite my cousin making fun of me for drinking so much at the bar, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm on vacation. I want to enjoy myself. So that's how I feel like, you know, Audrey should have put it. Oh, also, that's another thing. Dragon fruit. I had dragon fruit for the first time in Mexico, and it was became easily one of my favorite fruits. And I will engorge myself on that. Definitely. Anyway, Nick and Audrey are in that room, and they're, you know, talking about the whole situation. Then in comes knocking on the door, Francesco, who's constantly trying to hit on Audrey, and it's like trying to put the blame on everybody else on who knew about the whole elephant situation. And you know, and they constantly trying to barricade their door just because they don't know who's going to be the killer. Because now they're on the case, they could probably be the one that's gonna get got next. So here comes, like, you know, after Francesco was hiding in the closet, here comes like, you know, Claudette. Then she got high here, and she got a gun on her too, and so they're ready to pop anybody. Then here comes, you know, Sarah. Then here comes the Countess and her friend, and everybody's just like popping out of the room and everything like that. And I love, like, you know, Nick and Audrey's reactions, like after like the third person's come knocking on the door. It's like, you know, it's like, and she's just like, you know, don't you think that's gonna be what if that's gonna be the killer? Like, don't you kind of want to be a killer at this point? Gotta keep moving this thing out the doorway. But they're starting to, like, you know, get drowsy, and they think they was drugged. But if you pay attention, you know, earlier in this scene, these two took some medicine. Turns out to be Valium that Nick, you know, forgot to mention they put into the medicine bottle because they wanted to enjoy themselves while on this trip. Then the next day, Claudette and the others contacted Connor Miller, who wrote this book on like hostage negotiation and kidnapping, ransom situation. And he points out that, you know, they might be the suspects, considering that you got like a struggling business, and like money from kidnapping the Maharaja would be like a good motive for them. And it's like, wow, like you guys like really want to lean in on making sure that these two gotta be the primary suspects every time. It's like they wouldn't have any reason to do any of this stuff. And it's like, you already, you know, like if you knew their background before, you know that they was falsely accused last time. So it would make sense to not try to accuse them. I mean, granted, you can't just not rule anybody out in these kind of situations, but it's kind of like they shouldn't be high on the list at the very least. But the kidnappers calls in and demands the ransom money to be taken to the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. So they pack up their stuff. They go to it was $70 million, by the way. It was $50 million, but because stupid reasons and goofy actions, the kidnappers keep raising the stakes. So they meet up at this van with Connor Miller following them, because he wrote this book on this kind of thing, and Audrey's like an avid reader because she loves this kind of stuff and she want to be knowledgeable when in their business. So, and once again, they don't have any kids. And it's weird that you know, these two don't have kids yet. If they do a third one, it kind of makes sense to have them to have like a small child at you know, by this point. It's kind of weird they don't have one. As long as they've been together, because previous film they've been together for like 15 years. It's 4 years now in the story, so they've officially been together for 20 years. And for 20 years being married, you don't have not one kid. Never even mention a kid, like, oh, my kid is in a college kind of situation, that's why they're not around. Something like that. Kind of weird. When you get married, that's probably one of the first priorities, is trying to start a family. You know, like, wouldn't you think? Maybe not right away, but you know, well beyond time after 15 years. It's like maybe after like a second or third year, you start probably working on that. Second or third year after marriage, you should be working on that kind of thing. At least that's how I feel. If not right away. So they go to this van and they held at gunpoint, even though they was instructed not to go inside if they were told to, but it's kind of like, well, it cannot, they gotta give they, you know, nose stuck up in the air, like, Americans. I was like, screw you, lady. It's like, let's see how tough you are. We got a gun pointing at you and you get told to get in the van. I was like, yeah, I can see you like avoid getting shot at point blank range. So Audrey and Nick end up fighting off these kidnappers, but here's the thing. Adam Sandler is not like a fit dude, but he's not like he's got like a dad bod kind of situation. It's perfectly fine, very average of a build for a man his age. So no shade on him. It's just that obviously there are certain shots that was made where it's clearly like a devil doing all these kind of fight things. It's not like he's doing like martial art moves or anything like that, but the way he was carrying around, it's like you can see like the build of the guy isn't like the same build as, like I said, it's not like Adam Sandler is fat or anything like that, but it's like, you know, you can just tell like, okay, he doesn't have like it's not like ridiculously buff, but you can clear the whole dad bod kind of thing is a little slimmer. Just go like maybe like an inch or two off. Maybe it was just me just like extremely nitpicking, but it's just something like I really noticed because like you're doing all this kind of stuff, and it's like I doubt Adam Sandler, a guy in his like 50s, I believe, uh, is doing all this kind of moving around. It's like it's not saying like 50-year-old guys cannot do this. It all depends on how fit they are, and Adam Sandler, while not like a obese dude, but he's not like super fit at the same time. So it's like something I noticed. Anyway, it's a hilarious little fight scene. Uh, uh, and Audrey ends up murdering a couple of these guys. Which is like she kind of like I imagine she gotta be a little traumatized. Granted, they're bad guys, but it's like she never took a life. Like, imagine that kind of thing would. I know it's supposed to be like a comedy crime thing, but what I would have liked, because it was directed by a different person, but it kind of feels like in the same vein as the previous one. You can't even tell if it's like a different director. It's kind of like, certain directors have certain styles, and sometimes directors are not like Quentin Tarantino, that you gotta see somebody's feet all the time, where he's clearly like a Tarantino thing, or goth stuff, so you can tell it's definitely like, oh, it's like a Tim Burton thing. Here, these guys, those, two different directors don't have like any kind of distinct thing. Never heard of them, so it makes sense. But I kind of wish this director would have kind of put in at least like a minute or two of a moment where Audrey is maybe not hyperventilating, but it's like after the adrenaline kind of settles, the realization that she took some people's lives, or two people's lives, granted they're bad guys, but that kind of be like a shot to your system of like an average civilian. And I kind of wish they had like a moment like, to address that, where Nick has to comfort his wife, because I'm not sure if, Nick actually had to shoot somebody before, maybe not kill, but definitely, shoot his gun. Well, he definitely shoot his gun because you saw it in the previous film, but prior to the first film story, being like a cop on the beat and everything like that, I imagine at least a couple times he has to draw and shoot his gun before. But it'll be kind of like a nice moment where Nick has to comfort his wife, because she's like, freaking out, like, oh my God, I just took somebody's life. I did that. And it's like, she's kind of like, like a moment he has to like calm down and reassure her everything's gonna be fine, blah, blah, blah. I would have loved that personally. So in comes Connor Miller after they crashed the van they were in at the Cafe Proco. I'm like butchering these French names, so please forgive me. But here comes Miller, picking up the case and says like, I was wrong about you guys. You guys are aces in my book. Meet me at this spot. I think this, briefcase of money will be safer with me than with you guys. So they're having the second thoughts about Miller now. It's like, is he the bad guy? And they try to run after him as he's getting in his car. It explodes. Then some mysterious person on a motorcycle just walking through the fire like he's the T-1000, grabs the briefcase full of money, walks out of the fire, but all of a sudden gets hit by a truck, like a dump truck, and another mysterious person grabs the briefcase and hauls away. And everybody's like, what? It's like, you don't even understand like the heck you just watch at this moment. So they already noticed the license plate. So they track down Delacroix and have him assist them in tracking down the license plate, even though, as he points out, well, I have an app for that. It's like, there's an app for that? Yeah. So you don't have to go through the rigmarole of sneaking into a police station and like trying to use their computers. Just open the app, I guess. It's like there's apps for a lot of stuff. So they track down the dump truck at this fancy mansion, and it turns out that the person in the dump truck was Imani. Her and the Countess were planning to steal the money. They weren't the ones responsible for kidnapping Vic, but they figured like, oh, we'll seize the opportunity and just take the money. And the Countess double crossed Imani, as Audrey and Nick pointed out that they've been through this before. That's gonna be what happens. But she didn't die right away. She shot and killed Countess in retaliation. But a fire started, and Nick and Audrey make their escape. So after they realize and come to the conclusion of who will be responsible, they contacted the inspector, have them gather everybody and meet them at the restaurant in Eiffel Tower, the Eiffel Tower, the Le Jules Verne. Might have pronounced that right, but I might not. Don't know. My apologies once again if I did, because I really do want to go to Paris, but it's not. It's probably like my third on my bucket list of places to go. First one would probably be Japan and Hawaii. Then Paris would be like an easy third. Because I like seeing sights. It's like visiting places that I only read in books and seen in pictures. I think Greece would probably be number 4 on that list, because I want to see like the Greek monuments of like the Temple of Zeus and all the other stuff. That'd be kind of great to see. But yeah, Paris would be like good number 3. But so Eric pointed out like, why you guys got fancy clothes on it, and like, did you take time to do your hair? It's like, look, we was like a moat situation, it's like, we don't have to spend that stuff here. I was like, oh yeah, granted they look sharp. I gotta, not gonna knock them for that. And plus they did fall through the moat, try to escape a burning building, so it's kind of like, they have to change the clothes, of course, otherwise it'll smell like a swamp. So in comes Vic with a bomb strapped to his chest, and Nick says like, it was make this hunch where it's like, well, the kidnappers would never risk their golden goose without getting that money first. And of course, the time goes down, nothing happens, and it turns out the real killer was Miller, who faked his death because he hid inside a bomb-proof titanium case. And the guy on the motorcycle is one of his guys, but because the Countess decided to, pull a fast one and take it from them, he tries to make sure that he get his money. And so while trying to make an escape, Audrey jumps on him as he's trying to grapple to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Nick takes on his henchman, thanks to Francesco using his like headbutt move thing he always talked about, because he used to be a soccer or football player, and he headbutt people and put people in concussions and stuff like that, or make them not blink right anymore, something like that. So Nick and Audrey team up to stop Miller, and causes the money in the briefcase to go flying out, in the wind, scattered along the side of Paris. And they, of course, Audrey can't shoot worth a dang, and neither does Nick, but also causes the detonator to be destroyed, which stops like the real countdown on Vic's vest. So they trick Miller, distracting him so Nick can wrap the cord around him that's connected to the helicopter, or not connected to the helicopter, but the mechanism that caused him to grapple up to the ceiling. And Audrey shoots this the wheel, causes him to fall over the side, and he ends up falling right into the propellers, causing it to crash into the waters of the Seine or Seine. So, everybody's like, oh my God, it's been a long time. I can't. Oh my God, it's like everything's gonna be all right. But of course, they realized there was a second assailant, and Audrey once again starting to put two and two together, and it's like, notice about like the blood stained clothes that was left in the fire back at the party, but it wasn't blood; it was henna. And noticing that, the fresh henna that was being put on to Sarah early in the party, she points out like it was smeared. And henna, once henna sets, it doesn't smear. So it was very fresh when things went down at that reception party. It turns out Sarah was the one who was trying to assassinate her brother, not just this time, but a previous moment in Mumbai that the colonel disrupted. It was causing him to lose his complete arm instead of just a hand. I forgot to mention that part in the previous review that he has like a missing hand kind of situation. But it's because Sarah was jealous that her parents left everything they have to Vic, even though he wasn't like as competent as she was. So she grew jealous, that kind of thing. Money usually be the motive, and she got stopped. Vic leaves $10 million to Nick and Audrey as thanks for saving him and everything like that. And as they're trying to relax and go take a proper trip to Greece and everything like that on a helicopter with the previous pilot who took them to the private island earlier in the film, shanghaied them, took their money, and parachuted out. And turns out he can actually speak English and everything like that. As he made like a joke earlier, calling them the shitses, which I'm surprised nobody ever did that in the first film. And so the movie ends with the couple scrambling to the controls to avoid crashing. So that was Murder Mystery 2. And like the previous one, it was fairly average to some critics. I'm not sure how actual audiences perceive this film. I say it's actually, it's not as good as like, the Knives Out films. I wouldn't go that far. But I'd say it was like a fairly average film. It's it's still entertaining, and I like the fact that the Adam Sandler cliches that we've seen in old films isn't horrendously used in these two films. So it's just a right amount of Adam Sandler jokes that it's like, it's like it's just a taste. It's just enough to wet our whistle, because we don't want too much Adam Sandler to where we lose our appetite, but we need just enough to wet our whistle. But yeah, the chemistry between him and Jennifer Aniston still on point. And Jennifer Aniston is like a stunning beauty. I can see why Ross went crazy over her. Yeah, I mean, I don't care for that Amani girl's creepy little laugh. And it's kind of funny the way Jennifer Aniston's kind of mimicked it. They always gotta laugh at me. But anyway, I enjoyed this. I love Mark Strong. Mark Strong is always amazing in everything he does. But it's, it's hard to say like I like it more than the first one. I say they're fairly even in my opinion. They're like right up there. It's like, if they remain a constant I call that still a win. Like, even considering by Adam Sandler standards and stuff like that, I call it a win. But if you've seen Murder Mystery 1 and 2, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. It was like a drop in quality for you, or is it middle of the road, or like, do you find this super entertaining? But yeah, I think later on I'll be playing some Overwatch 2 for a while. I'll definitely see you guys tomorrow for more Hogwarts Legacy, and squeeze in some time for some RE4. But yeah, next Thursday I'll have like a new, the Spider-Verse event comic book story to review for you guys. Then I can go right into X-Men related stuff for comic book reviews. Yeah, and then I think the next two movies are going to be another part 1 and 2. I'll be covering the first 2 Ant-Man movies. Considering I already did Quantumania, I think it's like important that I cover at least the wrap up all the Ant-Man stuff. Just cover Ant-Man 1 and 2. But yeah, look out for that next week. Then I can, once I get into the X-Men related stuff, like right after, well, maybe not right after, because I probably want to take a break that week, considering the week after, well, I want to say not too much of a break, but just not streaming as much that week, considering in a couple of weeks my birthday on the 23rd, so I will definitely be streaming that day. And I will be doing like a long kind of like an 8-hour stream thing again, playing some multiplayer stuff on the 22nd, leading up to midnight of my birthday on the 23rd, and maybe taking a break on, yeah, definitely on the 23rd, and maybe the following 24th. So like, I probably won't be streaming as extensively that week. Give myself like a well-deserved kind of like break-ish. But we'll see how it ships out. But the be a kind of minimal amount of like reviews and stuff like that. Anyway, it'll begin to TV shows with like X-Men related TV shows. I want to review like the Clerks movies though. Because the first 3 Clerks movies I really want to like cover, but before I get into X-Men stuff, because I've been wanting to do that for a hot minute, so I may not like get into the X-Men movies right away. So I'll cover like probably after Ant-Man stuff. I'm gonna cover the first 3 Clerks films. After that, it's gonna be like a series of X-Men movies, comics, and TV shows. But anyway, I will see you guys later on with some Overwatch. So have a good night. If I don't see you then, take care.